The sound of nothing's room was full of quiet laughter, champagne flutes, and the soft rustle of expensive fabric. Lights shimmered above, like distant stars, and voices blended into a gentle hum. But Keanu Reeves sat in the corner of the room, alone with a cup of black coffee, not wine. He always noticed things that others missed. He didn't speak much, but his eyes saw everything. And that night his eyes found her again, Ana de Armas. She stood near the long curtain, just beyond the warm glow of the chandelier, dressed in a simple blue gown that didn't try to impress, only to exist. Her hair was neat, her makeup soft, but something in her body told a different story. She was still, too still. Her smile came too slow. In her eyes they looked tired, like someone who'd forgotten what it meant to rest. No one else saw. They were too busy laughing, raising glasses, taking pictures. The cameras didn't turn her way tonight. Her latest film had not done well. And in this town, failure was like an invisible wall. It pushed people away quietly. She had no one with her. No agent. No assistant. Just her. Alone in a room full of people, pretending to love each other. Keanu sipped his coffee. He didn't approach. Not yet. He had learned the value of patience over the years. Sometimes the best way to help someone is simply to wait. Wait until silence is no longer enough for them. Anna checked her phone, her fingers trembling slightly. Maybe she hoped someone had messaged. Maybe she wished for a text that said, "You did your best," or "I'm proud of you." But there was nothing. Just a black screen and her reflection in it. Then she slipped away. Not dramatically, not loudly. Just quietly walked out the side door, unnoticed. Like a ghost, Keanu stood up. He didn't know what he would say. Maybe he wouldn't say anything. But he couldn't just sit and do nothing anymore. Outside, the air was cold. The sky had turned a dull gray, the kind of night that makes you feel. Small Anna sat on the edge of the low marble steps, her hands folded in her lap. She was staring at nothing. "Hey," Keanu said softly, his voice like warm cloth. He didn't sit beside her right away. He stayed a few steps behind. She turned slightly. Her eyes widened in surprise. "Keanu?" He nodded gently. "You leave." She gave a small, embarrassed smile. "I didn't think anyone would notice. I did." Those two words, simple, quiet, made something in her chest ache. They sat in silence for a few moments. Only the sound of distant traffic around them. Then Anna spoke again. "It's been a hard few months." Keanu nodded again. "You don't have to explain." "But I want to," she said, surprising herself. "I feel ... invisible, like I'm failing and nobody cares. I work so hard. I show up, I give everything, and still ... nothing." He finally sat down next to her. Not too close, not too far. "You're not nothing," he said. "You're seen, maybe not by everyone, but I see you." Anna's eyes filled, but she didn't look away. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Keanu smiled, quiet and soft. "Guess I've been there. Guess I know how it feels to pretend you're okay when you're not." She wiped a tear from her cheek, then gave a shaky laugh. "I didn't think someone like you would understand. Someone like me." He raised a brow. "You're starring.com. Everyone respects you." He looked down at his coffee cup. That respect came from pain, from being broken and learning how to stand up again, not from pretending to be perfect. The night wrapped around them like a warm coat. Anna felt something loosen in her chest, something heavy that had been stuck there for weeks, maybe months. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu shook his head gently. "Don't thank me yet. I haven't done anything. You sat with me?" She said, "That's more than anyone else did." He looked at her and saw the smallest trace of strength in her eyes. Not loud, not proud, but real. And then, without warning, Anna laughed. A real laugh, light and short. "What's funny?" Keanu asked, smiling. "Nothing. It's just ... This is the first time in weeks that I don't feel like disappearing." He looked up at the sky. "Then maybe this is the first night of something better." Anna leaned her head back and closed her eyes. "I hope so." Keanu watched her for a moment longer, then made a silent promise to himself she would not have to struggle alone anymore. Not if he could help it. And in that quiet night, a friendship began. One not made of red carpets or headlines, but something real. Something built on respect, kindness, and shared silence. And it all started because he noticed. Coffee at sunrise next morning, Anna stood in front of her mirror, brushing her hair in slow strokes. Sunlight peeked through the curtain, touching her face with a soft glow. She hadn't slept much, but her heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. She kept hearing Keanu's words from the night before. "You're not nothing. You're seen." Those words stayed with her. Her apartment was quiet, a little too quiet. The kind of silence that reminds you how alone you really are. She didn't have family in the city. Her friends had slowly disappeared, some busy with work, others unsure how to comfort someone who was slowly sinking. She walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and stared at the empty shelves. Just almond milk and a single apple. She sighed and leaned against the counter. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Keanu. "I'm grabbing coffee. Want to join?" Her lips parted slightly. Didn't need to reach out. He had no reason to, but he did. She typed back, "Yes." "Where?" He sent the name of a quiet cafe 5 blocks away. Not fancy, not famous, just real. 10 minutes later, Anna stepped inside the small coffee shop. It smelled of roasted beans and warm cinnamon. Her eyes scanned the room until they found him sitting by the window. Wearing a dark jacket and reading a small notebook, he looked up as she walked over, and a gentle smile crossed his face. "You came. You asked," she said softly, sitting across from him. There were 2 steaming mugs already on the table. "I wasn't sure what you liked," he said, "so I ordered black. Figured we could start simple." She picked up the mug. Simple sounds perfect. For a while, they didn't speak. Just sipped. Just listened to the soft music playing in the background. It was peaceful in a way that felt rare. "So," Keanu said after a pause, "how are you feeling today, Anna?" Thought for a moment. "Honestly, I feel like I'm not drowning anymore, like someone threw me a rope." He nodded slowly. "Sometimes. That's enough to get through the next day." "I've been trying so hard to prove myself," she said, staring at her mug. "But the harder I try, the more invisible I feel." Keanu leaned forward slightly. "You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Not to the critics, not to strangers, not even to the people who once cheered for you." She looked at him, confused. "Then what do I do?" "You create. You show up. You do what you love, not for applause, but for the truth inside it." Anna's eyes softened. "But what if no one notices?" He gave a small smile. "I noticed." Something flickered in her expression. A spark of belief. "Do you write?" he asked, nodding toward her bag. She blinked. "How did you know?" "Carry that notebook everywhere. I saw it last night." She hesitated, then slowly pulled it out. It was worn at the edges, with pages filled to the corners. "It's just thoughts. It's nothing special." "Can I read something?" Keanu asked gently. She paused. For a moment, her fingers tightened around the notebook. But then she nodded and handed it to him. He opened to a random page and read silently. Anna watched him closely. No one had ever read her words before. Her heart beat fast. Her fingers trembled on the table. Finally, Keanu looked up. "This ... is beautiful. It's honest, raw, full of emotion. You're just being kind." "No," he said firmly. "I'm being honest. You write like someone who feels deeply, and that's rare." A slow smile spread across her lips. Not a big one, just enough to warm the moment. "Thank you," she whispered. "You should share this with the world," Keanu said. "You really think people would care? If you speak your truth," he said, "the right people will listen." Anna looked down at the notebook, now resting between them. "Maybe, someday." "No rush," Keanu said. "Just promise me you won't stop writing." She nodded. "I won't." They talked for almost an hour, about movies, about fear, about loneliness. and about small moments that often go unnoticed. As they stepped outside, the sun was brighter now. The street looked less heavy. The air felt less sharp. "I'm glad I came," Anna said. "Me too," Keanu replied. They stood for a moment, unsure if they should hug or wave. Finally, Anna simply said, "See you soon?" "Anytime," Keanu said. As she walked away, Keanu watched her go with a thoughtful look. He had helped her breathe again, but part of him knew she was still hiding something. Something deeper, something she hadn't said yet, and he would wait. Because sometimes the heart speaks only when it feels safe. That night, Anna wrote again, and for the first time in months, the words didn't feel like a burden. It felt like hope. The whisper behind her smile, days passed. Then a week Anna and Keanu kept meeting, sometimes for coffee, sometimes just a walk in the park. They didn't talk about work much. They talked about life, pain, childhood, memories that shaped them. Anna laughed more now, but only when he was around. She still hadn't told him everything. She hadn't told him why she stayed so late at the gala that night, why she had no manager anymore, or why her last few auditions had gone terribly wrong, not because of lack of talent, but because her mind froze the moment someone asked her to smile more. Something inside her had cracked, and she was afraid if she told Keanu, he'd pull away. But he didn't push. He just stayed. And somehow, that made her. Want to tell him even more? One afternoon, they met in a small bookstore tucked between two closed shops. It was quiet. It smelled like old paper and stories that waited too long to be heard. Anna stood by a shelf, flipping through a poetry book. Keanu watched her for a moment, then stepped closer. "You like poetry?" he asked. "Only the kind that feels like someone's whispering a secret to you," she said without looking up. "Those are the best kind." She closed the book and looked at him. Her eyes were soft, unsure. "Do you ever feel like you're pretending all the time?" Keanu didn't answer right away. He took the book from her hand and placed it gently back on the shelf. "Every single day." Anna exhaled. Anna exhaled like she'd been holding that question. Inside for weeks, they walked to a corner with a small bench and sat. She looked down at her fingers, twisting them together. "I haven't told you something." She began. Keanu waited. "I used to be confident," she said. "I believed in my voice, in my choices. But then, the industry changed. People talked. Behind my back, I was told to lose weight, to act less emotional. One director said I was too intense for simple roles. And then, they stopped calling." She looked up. "I felt like a burden. Even to myself." Keanu's face didn't change. He just listened. Anna swallowed. "One night, about 3 months ago, I thought about leaving, not just the city. Everything." He gently placed a hand over hers. "But something stopped me," she said. "I saw a photo of myself from my first audition. I was standing in the rain, soaked, smiling so wide. I looked so, full of hope. I didn't want to erase that girl." Keanu gave her hand a light squeeze. "She's still in you." Anna blinked fast, trying not to cry. "I'm scared she's gone. Then let's find her together," he said. She smiled, weak but real. Just then, a little girl ran past them, giggling, holding her father's hand. The sound echoed softly in the quiet shop. Anna watched them go, then turned back to Keanu. "Do you ever wonder if kindness still matters in this world?" "I don't wonder," he said. "I know it does. Because you're sitting here, and that means you chose life. You chose to keep going." They sat for a long time after that, not talking, just breathing the same quiet air. When they finally stood to leave, the shop owner, an elderly woman with silver hair, handed Anna the book she had looked at earlier, a gift. The woman said kindly. Anna tried to refuse, but the woman simply smiled and said, "We all need a little poetry now and then." Outside, the sky was turning gold. A breeze passed between them as they walked side by side. "I want to act again," Anna said suddenly. Keanu turned to her, surprised but happy. "Not for fame, not for anyone else, just for me, and let's do it." He said, "Do what?" Something real. Something small. Something honest. Anna paused. Like what? A short film. Just you and me. One camera. One story. No studio. No pressure. Anna's eyes lit up. You'd do that with me? In a heartbeat, and in that moment, something shifted. Not just hope, but purpose. They didn't know how it would turn out, or if anyone would watch it. But it didn't matter. What mattered was that Anna had finally said out loud, I want to begin again, and Keanu, without question, had said, I'll be there. One honest Senate 3 weeks later, little film began. Not in a studio, not with a crew, just Keanu and Anna, one small camera. And a script they wrote together on napkins, journals, and late-night calls. They called it Still Here. It was the story of a woman who lost her voice, a man who reminded her how to listen to her own silence. They didn't chase perfection. They chased truth. Keanu borrowed a camera from an old friend. Anna found locations in quiet streets, on rooftops, and inside her own apartment. Every shot felt raw. Every scene was filled with breath, not just words. They shot in the early mornings and late evenings. Sometimes just a few minutes at a time. Sometimes hours. They didn't rush Anna. Was nervous at first. Her hands shook when the camera turned on, but Keanu never rushed her. He would say, take your time. I'm here. One evening, they filmed a scene where Anna had to cry. Really cry. No makeup. No lighting tricks. Just emotion they were. On a rooftop, the sky behind her slowly turning purple. Wind touched her hair. And for a moment, she hesitated. I can't do this, she whispered. Backing away from the camera, Keanu stepped closer, not as an actor, but as a friend. Why? Not because... If I cry now, it won't be acting. It'll be real. He looked at her and said softly, then let it be real. Her lips trembled. What if it's too much? Then I'll hold it with you, he replied. So she stepped back into the frame. At this time, she didn't perform. She broke tears. Fell. Her voice cracked. She whispered lines they hadn't even written, and Keanu didn't say a word. He just stood in the scene, quiet and steady, as if telling the camera, yes, this is truth. Watch her. Don't look away. When the scene ended, Anna collapsed to the ground, sobbing, not from pain, but release. Keanu knelt beside her and wrapped her in a careful hug. You were incredible, he said softly. It didn't feel like acting, she whispered. That's why it was perfect. They kept filming for 5 more days. Just small scenes. Soft dialogues. Honest moments. One night, they sat on the floor of Keanu's place. Surrounded by memory cards, teacups, and soft music, Anna leaned against the couch. I don't care. If no one watches this changed me. Keanu looked at her. Me too. She turned to him, her eyes tired but glowing. Thank you for not giving up on me. You never gave up, he said. You just forgot how strong you were. I only reminded you. Anna smiled, then whispered, I think I'm starting to like myself again. Keanu didn't reply, just nodded, as if saying yes. Finally, a week later, they uploaded the short film online. No promotion, no red carpet, just a quiet post that read, a story we needed to tell. Maybe you need it too. They didn't expect much. But something unexpected happened. Within 3 days, the video spread. People commented from all over the world. This made me cry in the best way. I felt like her. This is the most human thing I've seen in years. Anna read every comment, every message. She cried often, but now, not from pain. From healing. For the first time in a long time, as people weren't clapping for her image, they were holding space for her soul, and in that space, she grew stronger. Meanwhile, Keanu kept quiet, as he always did. He didn't post much, didn't say much. But every morning, he sent her the same text. Still here, and she would reply. Still rising. The film didn't just help Anna, it helped others, and in helping others, she found her voice again, a voice not shaped by approval, but by truth, a voice that whispered gently, "Now, you matter." And that whisper was loud enough. The voice she didn't know. Anna sat alone on the park bench, a notebook in her lap, the wind brushing her hair gently across her cheeks. It had been exactly 34 days since they released the short film. It had reached over 7 million views. But more than the numbers, it was the messages that changed her life. Hundreds of people had written about their own pain, their own quiet battles, their own silent mornings. Some said her film gave them courage to speak to someone. Some said it made them cry for the first time in years. One message simply said, "Thank you for reminding me I exist," and I held that one close. But with the attention came something she didn't expect: invitations. Producers suddenly remembered her name. Directors who once ignored her were now asking to meet. Scripts filled her inbox. Interviews were requested, panels, guest spots, talk shows. But this time, Anna didn't jump. She read each message slowly. She sat with each offer. She asked herself, does this speak to me, or just to the world's idea of me? Keanu watched her move through it all. He never offered advice unless asked. He knew the weight of being wanted for the wrong reasons, so he simply reminded her again and again. Do what feels honest. One morning, Anna met with an old friend, a young actress who had also disappeared from the spotlight after a personal tragedy. They hadn't spoken in almost a year, but the friend had watched the short film, and now she wanted to talk. They met at a tiny bakery in the corner of the city. The actress wore a hoodie and no makeup. Her eyes were red before she even spoke. How did you come back, she asked softly. Anna smiled gently. I stopped trying to come back, just chose to show up. But weren't you scared? Every day, Anna said. But Keanu reminded me that fear is not the enemy. Silence is. Her friend looked down at her cup. I don't know how to begin again. Anna reached across the table, held her hand, and whispered, start with one word. Later that night, Anna told Keanu about the meeting. It's about how her friend cried and smiled in the same breath, how her voice shook, but she still spoke. Keanu nodded. Sometimes one person telling their truth gives permission to 100 others. Want to keep doing that? Anna said. Not for fame. It's not for praise. Just because people need to know they're not alone. Keanu looked at her for a long moment. You're becoming something powerful. Anna laughed softly. What? Mirror. When people look at you, they see themselves. And that gives them strength. His words settled into her chest like a warm stone. The next few weeks were filled with growth. Anna joined a small community theater group that worked with people recovering from trauma. She taught them how to breathe through pain, how to speak. Even when their voices shook, she didn't teach acting. She taught presence. And something beautiful happened. People began to heal together. Meanwhile, Keanu quietly filmed a documentary, capturing the journey, the stories, the unseen. He never put himself in the spotlight. He said the real stars were those who spoke through the silence. One night, Anna was asked to speak at a mental health awareness event. She almost said no, the thought of standing on stage. Sharing her story made her heart pound, but then she remembered her own silence. The long nights, the loneliness, and she knew she had to say yes. Keanu drove her to the event. She didn't say much in the car. Just held her notebook tightly in her hands. Before she went on stage, she turned to him and whispered, what if I forget what to say? Smiled. Then just speak from where it hurts. That's where the truth lives. On stage, the lights were bright, but this time she wasn't acting. She spoke slowly at first, carefully, but then her voice grew stronger. Steadier, she told the crowd about the night she almost disappeared. About the coffee shop, about the rooftop, about the way kindness brought her back. She said, you don't need to be loud to be heard. You just need to be honest. The room was silent when she finished. Then a standing ovation, but the part that mattered most came after a teenage girl approached her, holding a folded letter. I wrote this for you, the girl said. But really, I wrote it for me. Anna hugged her, tears in her eyes that night. Anna realized something important. The spotlight didn't make her real. Her truth did. And as she walked off the stage, Keanu was waiting, his hands in his pockets, a quiet pride in his eyes. "You were brilliant," he said. "I was scared," she replied. "You still showed up," he said. "That's what bravery looks like." Anna nodded slowly, I think. "Has finally found my voice." "Ah!" Keanu said gently. "You always had it. Now the world is just listening." The woman whose sun was rising over the city skyline. Anna sat on the rooftop where it all began. She had returned there alone this time, not to film, not to cry, but to reflect. The sky was painted in soft orange and pink, and below, the world was slowly waking up. A year had passed since. The night she walked out of the gala in silence, she could still remember how heavy her heart felt, how lonely the street seemed, and how her own breath sounded like an echo. But now, as the morning breeze moved through her hair, her chest didn't ache the same way. It was different now, full, alive, behind her. The door creaked open, footsteps. She didn't have to turn around to know. Keanu sat beside her, holding 2 cups of coffee, black. No sugar. "You always know where to find me," she said with a small smile. "You're not that hard to find," he replied.
What?
"You always return to where it started." They sipped in silence for a while. Anna closed her eyes, letting the light warm her face. "You know what I've been thinking about?" "What?" "How close I came to giving up." Keanu turned to her. "Yeah, here you are." "I stayed," she whispered. "And not just in the city. Not just in acting. I stayed with myself. I didn't run from the broken parts." He nodded slowly. "You honored them. And now," she added, "those broken pieces feel like ... strength." Keanu smiled softly. "You turned your scars into stories." Anna looked at him. "It helped me remember who I was." He didn't respond right away. Just looked out at the sky, then said, "You were never lost, just unheard." She rested her head lightly on his shoulder. "Do you ever feel like we met at the exact moment we were meant to?" "Yes," he replied, "because you needed someone to see you, and I needed someone to remind me why seeing others still matters." Anna chuckled softly. "Do you think people will forget the short film someday?" "Probably," he said honestly. "The internet forgets everything eventually. Then what's the point?" Looked at her. "The point isn't to be remembered. It's to make someone feel less alone, even if just for one moment. And that's what you did." Anna sat with those words then. She said, "I got a letter yesterday." Keanu raised a brow. "Yeah, from a girl in Spain. She said she watched the film after losing her best friend. She said she hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 weeks. But after watching it, she finally told her mom how she felt." Keanu nodded. "That's it. That's the point." Anna smiled. Finished their coffee. A few pigeons landed nearby, pecking at nothing in particular. The city buzzed in the distance. Cars, voices, the rhythm of life starting again. Anna stood up, brushing off her coat. "I've been offered a new role." Keanu looked at her. "Big." "Maybe, but this time I asked for creative input. Said no to things that didn't feel true, and they listened." "That's growth," he said. "That's respect," she replied. "The kind I've earned by not pretending anymore." Keanu stood too. "I'm proud of you. You helped me get here." He shook his head gently. "You walked the road. I just lit a little part of it." They walked down the rooftop stairs together. City met them like an old friend. And as they moved through the morning streets, something unspoken passed between them. Not romance, not fame, not even partnership. It was deeper. It was the quiet bond between 2 people who met in the silence and stayed when it mattered most. Anna would go on to act again. She would write a book one day, called The Woman Who Stayed. Part memoir, part letters to those still struggling. And in the dedication she would write, "For the one who sat beside me when I had nothing to say, your silence saved me." Keanu never changed much after that. Still quiet, still kind, still the man who looked for the ones no one else noticed. But from that day forward, every time he walked into a room, any room, Anna knew there was someone watching closely, ready. To act the moment someone needed help, not for attention, not for credit, but because kindness is never wasted. And sometimes, the smallest gesture becomes the reason S.